Hi, my name's Edwena Dixon and I'm a mortgage broker here in Australia. Today we're talking about how to boost the value of your investment property. I had an investment property and I was able to boost its value by $50,000 doing some simple renovations to the property. So in this video, we're going to be talking about what those renovations are and how you can actually do some of these simple renovations to your home to be able to increase the value by potentially $50,000. When I first bought my investment property, it needed to be updated, but I didn't have a lot of money to spend on it. In fact, I only had $6,000 that I could invest straight away into that property. And what I was told by the property manager after I'd made those adjustments was that I had increased the value of the property by an estimated $50,000. Now, if this is something that's of interest to you, please stick around, like and subscribe, always helps. There was 4 specific projects that I undertook within the investment property to actually renovate it within that $6,000 budget and to be able to increase the value so dramatically. So the first one is to sugar soap the walls. Now this is where you aren't actually painting the entire property. This is done a lot cheaper. It is more labor intensive, but it actually means that you're almost washing the walls down with what's called sugar soap. And it helps to remove any of the dirt and grime that builds up in the paint over time, and it freshens up the paint before you actually then have to paint the whole interior walls from scratch, which can be quite expensive. So if you can get away with it, sugar soaping the walls may be a really cost-effective way to brighten up the walls without actually having to repaint the entire property. Next up, we've got changing the light panel that's actually around the light switch when you come into a room. You actually look for that light switch. You look to turn it on or off when you actually leave the room. And subconsciously, you're paying attention to what that light panel looks like. Is it dirty and grimy because there's been so many people that have been touching that little panel to turn the lights on and off for however many years? And so replacing those light panels, the panel that goes around the actual light switch, meant that in every single room, you subconsciously didn't have a negative response towards the light fixture. And that in itself made it feel like a more comfortable place. Next up, we have changing the very first light fixture in the ceiling when you walk into the property. You'll open the door and your eyes will automatically look up and you'll look at that very first light fixture. Just like the light panels will be a guiding indicator to you about what you subconsciously are starting to think about this particular property. And so being able to change that very first light fixture to something that's a bit more modern, it's a bit fresher, maybe it's not broken, it really does make an impact as you look at all of those different surroundings. So that was the next thing that we did. We changed that very first light fixture so that as soon as somebody opened the door, they had a better idea and a better sense that this is going to be a really great place to actually live in. Lastly, we have lino. Now, when I say lino, like me, you're probably thinking your grandmother's old bubbly lino in the kitchen. Lino has come a long way since then. And what we actually did was we actually changed the flooring in the kitchen to lino. What it is now, it looks completely different. So I chose lino that looks like floorboards, and I thought it was just cheap wood flooring. It turns out it is lino, and it's so much more durable than wood, but it still has that bounce and that spring, which means it doesn't hurt your legs and your ankles if you're walking around and you're standing on it all the time. So don't disregard lino. It could be a really great option for you. Just take a look. So these are my 4 simple ways that you don't have to break the bank to be able to do a renovation to an investment property that will increase its value. And like I said, I did this on my very first investment property and I spent $6,000 on it, got $50,000 updated valuation on that property just from making those simple changes. You don't have to break the bank. It is something that ultimately you can look at and you can do, and it is perhaps easier than what you thought. Hope you've enjoyed this video. We'll see you in the next one.